First releasing in 1997, Shadow Warrior was the oriental flavour of the tied line Doom clone. In 2013, the Forgotten by Time title received a fresh HD remake known simply as Shadow Warrior, published by Devolver Digital, the current owners of the IP, and developed by rising studio Flying Wild Hog, who had just come off the back of their first game, Hard Reset. They wanted to bring back this potential franchise with a more modern edge and less racial stereotyped agenda. Today I'm going to begin my analysis with the modern Shadow Warrior trilogy, starting with the 2013 remake. In Shadow Warrior, you take control of pun-filled mercenary Lo Wang, a re-envision of the same character that you control in the original Shadow Warrior. But where in the original he was a much older and more racial rendition of the character, portrayed by the great John William Galt, who unfortunately passed away earlier this year, this new Lo Wang is a younger, modern, sleeker version that is full of ego, good looks, and is portrayed by Jason Lebrecht. He even has his own Batcave. Lo Wang is your pretty genre standard typical action hero of this old era of shooters. Characters like Sam Stone, Duke Nukem, Lo Wang. Cocksure, witty characters with not much personality or motives beyond meeting the objective on the screen. But nevertheless, these games are made with combat and chaos in mind, so let's look at how Lo Wang controls in Shadow Warrior. Much like the shooters of old, Shadow Warrior's mechanics are built with speed and precision in mind. This isn't no Call of Duty or Battlefield that attempt to mimic more realistic movements. Lo Wang instead moves with the left stick with a speedier pace and can strafe left to right. One odd choice is that it feels like he's swaying from side to side when he walks. It creates this odd, sometimes motion sick feeling tilt of the camera, but eventually you do get used to it. R1 is your thrust forward, like a quick dodge, quickly moving a few feet in the direction that you were moving when R1 is pressed. Now holding R1 is your sprint. Both of moves are tied to a stamina meter in the bottom left corner. Your stamina depletes fairly quickly, however it can be upgraded to recharge quicker and deplete at a slower rate. The speed of Lo Wang never really felt like a hindrance, although a lot of the level's tight spaces don't really feel designed with this speed and movement in mind a lot of the time. Not like in Doom, in which levels really appreciate the game's movement mechanics, especially in Doom Eternal. Here it feels like a faded idea, or that the people that developed the movement mechanics didn't have long enough conversations with the actual level designers. Now, Shadow Warrior, as much as it likes to call itself a first-person shooter, does actually have a closer relationship with the hack-and-slash genre, as Flying Wild Hog wanted the katana to be the main weapon that players will use within the game. This is why it's at the centre of the weapon wheel, and has two buttons dedicated to quick switching straight to it. You got left on the D-pad, or you can tap L1. R2 is your standard attack button, or slice move, whereas L2 is your gun's secondary attack, or a charged slice with the katana. Shadow Warrior features a slicing system, which can be altered in the options menu. You can choose whether you want the direction that Lo Wang swings his sword to be in relation to your camera movement, or if you prefer it to be random. Personally, I wish they could have done this a different way, because either way you're going to have detriments. With the directional decision making, you could be moving in a direction that decides a strike that you wasn't after. But without it, the game becomes a more mindless button masher. There's definitely better first-person sword combat out there, like in Chivalry or Ghost Runner, but that's not to say that it's still fun to slash away at demons, seeing limbs flying off, heads being decapitated, and a demon crawling around the ground with no legs. The sword combat is still visceral, it's chunky, it's bloody, and it's engaging, and does come with some great moves to acquire. The 7 special moves in the game can be used by inputting one of 2 different combo styles, either by using the left stick or by swiping on the PlayStation touchpad. Left stick up R2, or sliding forward on the touchpad followed by R2 will do Divider of Heavens, a forward explosive lunge of your katana into your enemy. Left stick right, or left stick left, R2, or you can slide left or right on the touchpad followed by R2, will execute the Circle of Iron, a charged spin of your katana a full 360 degrees. Great at clearing swarms of enemies surrounding you, and it's really satisfying when you get a good spin and you see loads of heads just fall to the ground. Left stick down R2, or you can slide backwards on the touchpad and then press R2, will initiate Wing of Crane, in which Lo Wang charges up his sword and fires a horizontal slash along the level, slicing anything that it hits. Those are the 3 special moves for your katana, 3 really flashy and empowering moves to execute. Left stick right, L2, or you can slide right on the touchpad followed by L2, is the combo for Peacock's Blessing, a chi move where Lo Wang can heal a certain percentage of his health, and this can be upgraded so you can heal more higher percentages. Left stick left, L2, or slide left on the touchpad and L2 is for Dragon's Scales, which is a move where Lo Wang puts up a chi shield and it can lower the damage that he takes from enemy attacks. Left stick up L2, or slide forward on the touchpad then L2 executes Tiger's Roar, a blast type move that knocks enemies down in Lo Wang's vicinity. Left stick down L2, or slide backwards on the touchpad then L2 initiates Water Trap, a ground slam move in which Lo Wang can hang his enemies in the air for a short amount of time. These abilities that I found myself using not as much as the katana moves, but that was a mixture of my playstyle, but also the questionable reason behind such convoluted and easy to mistake combo inputs. Using the left stick, which is also used for movement, can cause many mistakes to happen when trying to initiate one of these special moves, and also when you aren't even trying. The amount of times I'd be strafing around my enemy whilst using my gun's secondary fire, which is mapped to L2, but the game would read that I'd accidentally input a command for a chi move, and so Lo Wang would stop what he's doing to do that instead. And using the touchpad isn't useful as this draws your left hand away from certain buttons in between battles. It's all not a very intuitive system, and it would have been better if the special moves were given a specific button on the controller. Maybe if the powers were given the L2 button, and you'd hold it to change which power you had equipped at the time, much like you do with your weapons. It could have alleviated a lot of the mistakes and mid-battle hindrances from being made. For other controls, X is of course your jump button. Although there's not a lot of platforming in this game, you'll still need to use it every now and again. Holding L1 brings up your weapon wheel, whilst triangle is used to switch between your last 2 weapons that you've had equipped. Square is a reload button, although if your gun is full, Lo Wang will have a unique inspection animation, which was a really nice detail. If you have your katana equipped, he'll wipe any blood off that may have been left on the blade. Circle is an interesting one. If you have a gun equipped, Lo Wang does this close range quick slash of his sword, but if you have the katana equipped, he has infinite shurikens to fire, but they do very little damage. L3 is your crouch, but very rarely do you need to duck behind cover in this game. Even human enemies can be swiftly sliced into chunks at close range. With this being marketed as a first-person shooter, you may be wondering if you can actually ADS your guns. Well, actually you can, although for an odd reason it is mapped to the R3 button and is incredibly clunky with your movement slowing really down and the aim being far too zoomed. For your D-pad, up will reveal your current objective, left is a shortcut to your katana with molten liquid spewing all over the ground when it's unsheathed, which is a nice little detail, and right is a toggle for your flashlight, although again you'll rarely ever need that. Down on the D-pad takes you to the game's overly complicated upgrades menu, or menus. Upgrades in Shadow Warrior are sliced into 3 parts. You've got your chi powers, your skills, and your weapons, each one requiring a different source of currency in the game to upgrade. Chi powers are your defensive and offensive abilities, such as healing or blocking attacks. You can unlock these by finding special crystals that are scattered across the levels. Some are out in plain sight, but some are more well hidden. Wang gets a neat new tattoo, and his abilities are more effective as you upgrade them. Skills are your statistics for nearly everything else: your stamina, your health, your katana techniques, and your new katana moves. These are unlocked by finding blood points, or as it's called in the game, karma. You can acquire these by killing enemies in various ways to rack up a multiplier. You can also find them around levels in these blood pools. The final upgrades menu is the weapons. These upgrades are usually attachments that add a new firing mode to the gun with L2, or they simply increase a certain statistic, such as better accuracy, better aim, or additional shots before a reload is needed. Ammunition can be also acquired here, and it's all purchased with the third currency in the game, which is money. This is found around all the levels and in chests or cupboards. All 3 currencies aren't really difficult to obtain, but they are given out in skimpy portions, so you won't have everything upgraded by the time that you reach chapter 17, so you'll need to think more carefully on what skills and stats you want and which you can do without. In regards to weapons, Shadow Warrior features 9, 8 in the weapon wheel with the katana in the middle. The katana is your base weapon, the one you acquire first and the one I certainly use the most. I always had my katana equipped, and this definitely is the weapon that sets Shadow Warrior apart from other classic Doom-like shooters, even still to this day. The first gun that you come across is the revolver. This is a weak pistol type weapon that has 8 shots, and I never used it after I acquired the next gun, the submachine gun. This, with its akimbo upgrade, was the gun that I used the most in Shadow Warrior. It's got decent damage output, it's got good accuracy when it's upgraded, and insanely good fire rate. This was the go-to weapon when facing the bosses, like piranhas on the enemy's health. Deadly. The next weapon you get is the crossbow. Good damage output, but really slow fire rate. I mostly used this when I first got it. It's good against the shielded enemies, shooting through their shields, and you can pin enemies against walls. But it did get replaced for me by the next gun, the shotgun. The shotgun is a tank at close range, turning demons to meat chunks and shields into ash. With the shotgun, every other single firing weapon became redundant, and leveled up with 4 barrels was even better. The flamethrower is complete trash, worst weapon in the game, has terrible range and damage. I used it once to try it out, never again. It could be took off the weapon wheel and it would not be missed. The final gun is the rocket launcher. This is a tri-shot launcher, having only 3 shots before it needs reloading. Compared to Doom's launcher, this is weak. Luckily, it does pack a very strong punch, and you can carry a lot of ammunition, so it did come in handy against the larger enemies. The final 2 weapons you can pick up are from dead demons. The demon heart is literally what it says it is. You have Lo Wang squeeze it, and any lower level demons in the surrounding area will be instantly killed. The demon head is acquired by defeating one of the larger foes called a warlord. You can then use his head as a beam ray weapon that damages anything that its laser hits. These are both one-time use weapons, so once out you need to pick up another. Although I have to say that the gun combat isn't really anywhere near as fun as the sword combat was. Guns don't really have that chunky punch feel of other shooters, and the gun I ended up using the most sounds and feels like a pea shooter, and doesn't even have vibrational feedback. Shadow Warrior features 5 levels of difficulty, from casual all the way up to heroic difficulty, which is unlocked after completing the game for the first time. The difficulties mostly affect enemy and damage stats and frequency of item drops. The heroic difficulty, however, also decreases the amount of checkpoints in the game. Personally, I think Shadow Warrior is a pretty challenging game already, even on the normal difficulty, requiring very quick reflexes and good knowledge of the enemy spawns, especially later on in the campaign. Playing it on heroic might incidentally make you despise the game more than enjoy it and turn you away from it, so just be advised going into that difficulty. But it's nice that Shadow Warrior gives you plenty of options and a severe challenge if you want it. It also comes with a new game plus titled EX Mode after you finish the game, allowing you to play the game all over again with all the upgrades and abilities that you had acquired on your previous run. This will certainly help if you want to upgrade everything and play it on those harder difficulties. Shadow Warrior is split into 17 chapters, with you being scored by a multitude of statistics at the end of each chapter like a classic Doom game would. And the chapters take place over 4 major settings. The first chunk takes place within a rural Japanese town, fitted with beautiful, colourful scenery, blossom trees, the leaves falling from the trees, koi ponds, Shinto shrines and large magnificent temples. This transitions into the second chunk of the game's more stale and forgettable dock stages setting, with rotting ships and stormy industrial buildings. Not as exciting. The third chunk of the game is set within a mustache-twirling villain's mountainous base in the snowy hills, with Half-Life inspired train sequences and bland construction settings. The last 2 settings really aren't as striking or as memorable as the beginning stages, but the game does still have those occasional beautiful set pieces sprinkled throughout, these large, elegantly designed environments. The 4th location that you'll travel to for a short time in between stages and the final chapter is the Shadow Realm. This is the realm where the demons come from, and here you'll fight the 3 major bosses in the game. Destruction in the game's environments is pretty detailed as well, with slashes of your sword leaving marks in the direction that it hit the surface. Glass shatters, walls break. It's a shame, however, that Shadow Warrior loves to stick to its roots, even more so in its level design. Levels are often straight corridors or square, open arenas crafted for a big battle. Levels very rarely ever open up, and if they do, it's a small disguised route leading to a secret stash of currency, or it's a locked door needing a green, blue or red statue to be destroyed to open it, inspired by the keys and skull doors of old Doom shooters. There are a few short segments which have Wang take position on a turret and you just point and shoot at the enemies that conveniently spawn in front of your minigun fire, but much like the arcade roots of this game, this is to split up the level hopping slashing action from more laid back shoot 'em up gameplay. Shadow Warrior does have a few secrets to find, such as these fortune cookies that give you some health and reveal a little Chinese joke or pun. But then there's the arcade machines that, when first discovered, felt like a really cool Easter egg that Hard Reset, Serious Sam and Hotline Miami are simple arcade games in this universe. But then this game keeps reusing the same assets over and over. You'll see this Easter egg so much that it feels overdone. It's not the only asset this game likes to reuse. IKEA cupboards added a nice modern aesthetic to the earlier levels, but you'll continue to see them all the way to the end. Even inside rusty cargo ships crash landed at the docks, they made sure to pay a visit at your favourite Swedish furniture store first. There's 10 variations of enemies that you'll encounter in Shadow Warrior, all offering a new obstacle for the player to avoid and adapt to. The first enemy that you face is the bodyguard type. These are the game's human foes and can be seen using katanas or machine guns. These are also really easy enemies to defeat and slice into ribbons, posing very little threat even in high numbers. The foot soldiers of the demon army are crawlers. These are very basic enemies that are easily dispatched with the katana. They come in a few forms, from mask-wearing demons to skeletons, and are usually seen in large packs. One awesome detail is that the crawlers can actually lose morale if they see you killing other crawlers. They'll start to cower and fear you, giving you free time to slice them up. Birdmen are these bird-like demons that appear in 2 types, ground-like units or flying units. Both are frequently fought in packs and both have ranged attacks but are easy to extinguish with your katana or machine gun. Warlords are one of the multiple larger foe types in the game. Warlords are deadly with a counterattack to any of Wang's ranges. The Warlord has close quarters AoE attack, a medium range fireball move, and a long range grab which pulls Wang back towards the Warlord. On top of this, the Warlords can turn enemies around him into their rage form that boosts their strength and their speed. Luckily, they are weak against Wang's chi and special moves, and once defeated drops a demon head to use. The Trolls were my favourite enemy designs for their Japanese Oni influence and really creative shields. The Trolls are equipped with these tall or round shields that can be destroyed with enough firepower. They also have a spear that they can use for long range or close range to attack the player. The Shaman is another of the game's stronger enemies. This is a complex foe with a lot of moves in its arsenal. Its main ability is that it can summon endless amounts of crawlers. It can also project a defensive bubble around itself. Using its staff, the Shaman can also shoot stun projectiles at the player. Shamans are always encountered with groups of other demons, so prioritising this one first is always a must. Mother is without a doubt the most grotesque looking foe that you'll face, having this long tongue, green radiated skin, and little demon creeping out of its abdomen sac. These are your Left 4 Dead inspired boomer type enemy. Keep your distance and don't let them explode on you. The Berserkers are the enemies that I had the most trouble with in this game. These are larger blue demons with impenetrable armour like skin. Their main attack is to charge you, so you gotta strafe around them and shoot the red weak spot on their back. They're more of a gimmicky nuisance than a real strategic threat, but luckily you don't fight much of them throughout the campaign. The last demon enemy is the Warpers. These are female hags with teleporting and invisibility powers. You'll encounter two types throughout the game, ones that shoot shurikens and ones that wield dual katanas. These are fairly powerful foes, especially if they go enraged, but they're best to fight close range, katana on katana. The 10th and secret enemy is the Demon Rabbit. One of these can appear when you've slaughtered a few too many harmless innocent rabbits. It'll turn black and go into a furious rage, sprinting and hitting the player. It's got a lot of health, so you'll need to be careful when facing it, but it's so fast that you'll need to use the katana. It's a pretty cool Easter egg and punishment for killing the innocent wildlife. For boss characters, Shadow Warrior has 4 boss characters. Gozu, Mezu and Xing are 3 ancients fought throughout the game, Xing being the final boss. They're these humongous suits of battle armour, very intimidating, but with the machine gun won't be much of a problem. Each one is took out the exact same. You shoot the weak spots in their armour until it reveals a glowing crystal underneath, and then blast those away to deplete their health. They're more spectacle battles than anything, seeing these huge giants in the sky. Thankfully there's only 3, but still Xing's boss in chapter 17 did start to see the formula rust. The 4th boss character is Orochi Zilla himself. Twice you'll fight this guy, and both times are played the same. He fights much like the Warper enemy. He's equipped with the Nobutsurakage katana, and with Enra's power he can teleport around. Simply dodge his sword swipes and attack him with plenty of chi combos, and he'll be down faster than you can say who's got Wang. Shadow Warrior takes place in present day Japan. You control the assassin Lo Wang, who was hired by the CEO of Zilla Industries, Orochi Zilla, one of the most powerful men in the world, to obtain a magical sword called the Nobutsurakage. On his way to Mizuyaki, a collector who owns the sword, Earth and Mizuyaki's fortress specifically is invaded by a demon army, and Lo Wang becomes entangled up in an otherworldly plot. He teams up throughout the game with a mask-wearing spirit known as Hoji, that was banished from the demon homeworld, the Shadow Realm, for at first unknown reasons. Hoji is the game's snarky, sarcastic sidekick who acts as the information guide about the lore of the game to the player. His brother Enra leads the demon army and is too after the Nobutsurakage. We also learn that the Nobutsurakage is in fact 3 swords, so it's time to go on an adventure to obtain all 3 parts. Throughout the game you'll come across these magical golems called Whisperers. They each contain a memory in place of a heart that one of the ancients chose to sequester away. The ancients cannot touch the Nobut Tsurakage, as just touching the weapon could kill them. But since the Whisperers aren't truly alive, they can touch the blade, therefore acting as couriers sent by the ancients and Enra to retrieve the blades. By slaying these golems, Wang absorbs their memories and learns of the game's lore. In the Shadow Realm, home of the demons, lived a family of immortal beings called the Ancients, led by Enra, who had 4 brothers, Hoji, Mezu, Gozu and Shing, and a sister, Amiona. Hoji was the inventor of the family, crafting his brother's battle armour that you fight throughout the game, and eventually a powerful sword that could even kill the ancients, the Nobut Tsurakage. The family's sister, Amiona, had a special gift that which her endless tears would cause it to rain in Shadow Realm. To stop the realm from flooding, the leader Enra tasked his brother Hoji with creating a sleeping potion that Hoji would then take to her every evening. Over time, Hoji's daily visits to Amiona created an incestuous affair between the two, and Amiona's happiness caused the rain to stop indefinitely, and thus a severe drought swept across Shadow Realm. Enra and the other 3 brothers discovered the affair between them and separated them, skinning Hoji's face, causing him to wear the mask. Amiona accepted her responsibility to the Shadow Realm, turning on Hoji, which birthed resentment towards her and Enra for his tyranny. Hoji then poisoned Amiona with an eternal slumber potion, causing another drought. Hoji was soon after banished from the Shadow Realm. Enra soon realised that Amiona could only be awoken by a sacrifice from one of the ancients, so he planned to seek out the one thing that could kill an ancient, the Nobut Tsurakage, which was now on Earth. He brokered a deal with Zilla, in return offering to cure Zilla's paraplegia. Hoji then wandered Earth for 200 years after his banishment from the Shadow Realm, before he joined forces with Lo Wang in the present day. Together they travel across Japan, collecting the 3 pieces of the Nobut Tsurakage, defeating Orochizilla's forces and Enra's demon army, battling Hoji's 3 other brothers in their battle armour, and facing off against a powered up Orochizilla before he escapes with his trusty henchwomen, clearly setting up a sequel. In the final act, Hoji reunites with his sister Amiona. However, he and Wang get ambushed by Enra, who takes the Nobut Tsurakage by using a Whisperer. Yet Hoji dooms himself, retrieving the Nobut Tsurakage despite its deadly touch and throwing it towards Wang, who uses it to finally strike down Enra. Killing Enra awakes Amiona, who witnesses not only the death of her brothers, but also her beloved Hoji. She weeps, bringing rain back to Shadow Realm. For extras and bonuses after completing the campaign, Shadow Warrior doesn't have loads, but it does still treat those who wish to complete it. In the extras menu you'll find a full gallery of concept artwork on all the game's levels, storyboards, characters and enemies, seeing what some of their earlier designs looked like, and getting a more closer look at some of the incredible creature designs and models that they made for the game. For modes you'll unlock the New Game Plus and the Heroic difficulty. But if you're not quite done with slaying demons in Japan just yet, then there is the Survival mode. You get what it says on the tin. You survive rounds of demons from base stats, and each round you'll survive that you'll be gifted with an extra few upgrade points. It's nice that it's not just killing enemies over and over, well, it is, but you do have that stat building metagame in the background as each round is cleared. You can play the survival game on multiple difficulties and in 3 different maps: Fortress, Old Town and Cemetery. There's not many and they're just revision parts of the campaign levels, but it's more of what you enjoy. I'd say the survival mode especially could have really done with co-op functionality. I didn't really feel that need in the campaign, but for survival to have held my attention for much longer, I really needed a buddy to endure it with. It's like Call of Duty Zombies, always more fun with a party, and that was severely lacking here in the survival mode. As for the katana itself, in the options menu you'll find an awesome extra that allows you to change the look of it. From a lightsaber styled variant, the sword from the original Shadow Warrior, a blocky Hotline Miami inspired sword, or even going around hitting demons with Serious Sam's sledgehammer. I loved everything that Flying Wild Hog put in here, especially from other franchises owned by Devolver Digital. I love it when game companies do this crossover type stuff. It really makes you appreciate being a fan of all the company's games. Shadow Warrior is definitely chained to the past and struggles many times to stay relevant today. Thankfully, its lore and mystical elements do give it something to hold on to in between the repetition of the sluggish arcade combat and the repeated level tropes and assets. But I personally believe that sometimes video game journalism can just get a bit too serious and far too heavy on smaller budgeted games focused on reigniting classic game styles. And as far as it goes, Shadow Warrior can still be one fun as hell modern, in quotation marks, Doom clone.